sum up in 2 words America's racialized prejudice and marginalization of people who rely on government assistance to get by, welfare queen is about as good and as bad as it gets. August 2016 marked the 20th anniversary of President Bill Clinton's signing out-of-law old-school welfare, aka Aid to Families with Dependent Children, replacing it with Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, aka TANF. And while TANF has succeeded in getting more single low-income mothers to work, it arguably hasn't altered this controlling image of the welfare queen, who allegedly filches taxpayer dollars, gets pregnant for government paychecks, drives fancy cars, and is solely responsible for perpetuating a so-called culture of poverty. And now it's time for a super quick and hyper-condensed history of women in welfare. Officially, the welfare system began in 1935 with the passage of the Social Security Act and Aid to Families with Dependent Children. Previously, state-funded mothers' pensions were given to almost exclusively white widows with children so that they could stay home to care for the kiddos, fulfilling their proper feminine duty of child rearing and domestic caretaking. But of course, they didn't want to give them so much money that they wouldn't still be incentivized to find a husband rather than a job, because of course, man's proper job is breadwinning. And that's an important key theme in the early history of welfare, that it was not originally architected to incentivize women to work, but rather to allow white, I repeat, white women to stay home and take care of their kids until they could find a dude to get married. And we still see echoes of this in Temporary Assistance for Needy Families funds today, funding pro-marriage programs. Moreover, AFDC was basically intended as a short-term fix to initially compensate these white widows for giving birth to future laborers and pursuing the family ethic of settling down with a male breadwinner who then would be paying into this newly established Social Security, so that when he kicks the bucket later on, the government doesn't have to pay up, Social Security can take care of the wife and kids. But it took nearly 30 years in the founding of the National Welfare Rights Organization for more low-income Black women to begin genuinely benefiting from the AFDC, because until then, mostly white caseworkers had the power that they often exercised to deem children of color and children born out of wedlock as unsuitable welfare recipients. On top of that, racist state policies and cultural expectations that Black women should work outside the home as opposed to those white mothers who really needed to stay home to take care of their kids only deepened the problem and prejudice. Because even then, many Black mothers essentially paid to be on welfare in exchange for being intensely scrutinized by AFDC caseworkers, including being subjected to random household raids to ensure that there weren't any dudes around, and also having aid docked or cut off completely if signs of extra income or outside financial assistance turned up. So even though regulations at the time prohibited mothers on welfare from getting jobs or even seriously dating guys who might bring over food or extra cash to help out, they were the ones singled out as being irresponsible and lazy. And in 1976, then California Governor Ronald Reagan made welfare queen a household term. But now we've got to hop back to 1974, because that's when the term first appears in the Chicago Tribune in an article about Linda Taylor, who was a local con artist, possible murderer, and definite kidnapper, who also used a ton of fake names and a ton of fake Social Security numbers to swindle the government out of a ton of money. Then hopping back to 76, Ronald Reagan anonymously references this welfare queen in his standard stump speech, repeating again and again about how all you hardworking white taxpayers are just being swindled out of cash by all of these lazy, de-incentivized welfare queens who are driving their Cadillacs around to pick up their government cheese. That, my friends, is dog whistle politics 101, because Reagan never said she was Black. Everyone just knew when you said welfare queen, you meant a low-income, single African-American mother. And seemingly overnight, that controlling image of the welfare queen became our narrative script, or presumed common knowledge, that welfare recipient equaled undeserving Black woman. And FYI, while today's recipients of temporary assistance for needy families are disproportionately Black, it and related programs like SNAP food stamps still benefit more white Americans. But why even dig through all the complicated history and bureaucracy of public assistance programs when it's so much easier to just foist all of the blame onto the shoulders of low-income single Black mothers whose lived experiences, needs, and aspirations are seldom validated, much less elevated in national conversations? Now who are the lazy ones?